Wishful thinking. I just came from Arkham. Tell me this deranged doctor of yours isn't going to be a bigger problem.
Deacon? Why?
Because I hear he's made a friend.
Everything is as it should be. The stage is set. Worlds will live. Worlds will die. And the universe will never be the same.
Hey guys, Ben here, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing my video on the crossover for next year, so the 2019 crossover, and it's officially Crisis on Infinite Earths. They teased this at the end of the Elseworlds crossover just yesterday, so we're going to be breaking down the ending scene, talking about everything to do with Crisis on Infinite Earths and everything that happened in the Elseworlds crossover that's going to factor in to Crisis on Infinite Earths next year in the 2019 crossover. So if you do go on to enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like and a comment, and subscribe if you're new so you don't miss any videos as we head towards next year, where we're going to be covering Crisis on Infinite Earths. So everyone's going to be talking about this for like the entire summer, the entire spring, the entire autumn, as we actually head towards this crossover, because this is my favorite DC comic book storyline, and also it's the biggest DC comic book storyline in all of DC's history. So I will go over a brief sort of synopsis of Crisis on Infinite Earths from the comic books and what you should expect if you aren't familiar with the comic books. I know a lot of people who watch the shows don't actually read the comics, but if you're going to read one comic from DC Comics, you've got to read Crisis on Infinite Earths. It is the best. I love it so much. So Crisis on Infinite Earths was published in 1985 till 1986. It was a limited series, and now you can get it as one whole collection in one whole book. And it saw basically every hero from DC Comics actually meeting, coming together from whatever parallel Earth or whatever part of the universe they're from. They all came together and joined forces to stop the Anti-Monitor, an all-powerful character from the antimatter universe, and he is opposed from the Monitor. The Monitor tries to help our heroes, he gathers the heroes up, and so throughout Crisis on Infinite Earths, these heroes that have teamed up throughout the multiverse actually fight the terror unleashed on these Earths, as Earth by Earth, the different Earths actually begin to actually get destroyed, and essentially by the end, Crisis on Infinite Earths is possibly one of the biggest amounts of death in all of DC's comic book history, and hundreds of characters literally died, and this was including The Flash and Supergirl, as we know are our main characters in our shows. And so another main character that is probably going to be introduced next crossover is Alexander Luthor, and he was a massive character, and he is obviously part of the Luthor family, but also there is Kal-El from another Earth, and there's Superboy Prime, and they all in the end come together to defeat the Anti-Monitor. And so this has actually been followed by like Jeff Johns' Infinite Crisis and things like that, but I think they're not going to actually really touch on any of that later stuff, but it's going to be mainly about Crisis on Infinite Earths. So that is a brief synopsis of what Crisis on Infinite Earths is from the comics. Sorry if it is a bit confusing, I would say just go read it. And so let's break down everything you need to know about the ending scene from Elseworlds. So at the end of the crossover, they confirm with that post-credits tag that Crisis on Infinite Earths is coming, and so later in episode 3 of the crossover, we get to see Oliver making a deal with the Monitor. And so prior to this, Barry and Kara were supposed to die. Superman sees them die, and we see them on the screen getting disintegrated, very similarly to how the Flash actually dies on Crisis on Infinite Earth, actually disintegrating and becoming nothing. And so they both die in Crisis on Infinite Earths in the comics. We most definitely can expect a switch on the comic books, and maybe it's a different version of the Flash that actually dies. Maybe it's Wally West, maybe it's Jay Garrick. I think it will probably end up being Jay Garrick, if I'm totally honest, if I'm gonna make a prediction which Flash would die. And I think maybe a version of Superman might die next crossover, but we'll have to wait and see if they actually switch that, or, you know, if it's a totally different set of characters that do end up dying. But a lot of characters will definitely die. Their destinies are changed in the Elseworlds crossover, and this is due to Oliver actually using a destiny arrow of sorts, and he shoots the book and shoots John Deegan, and his face gets screwed up real bad. And so the Monitor struck a deal with Oliver, and he says your time is limited, and this is in regards to the Anti-Monitor actually coming, that a crisis is coming to the multiverse and they need to be ready. That was what this whole crossover is about, the Monitor testing out these realities to see which heroes are the strongest and can come together to fight the Anti-Monitor. And so they prove themselves, and the Monitor is going to be coming back next year when the Anti-Monitor actually comes. So this is what Oliver says, and I quote, "I'm not who you need. Barry and Kara are different. They inspire hope. They are the best of us." And then the Monitor says, "Balance must be maintained. One change requires another. How would you propose I keep the balance?" And so this is the bit which has everyone freaking out, and I think it should freak you out, because he has struck a deal with him to change Barry and Kara's destiny in order to keep that balance in the universe, in the multiverse. He has had to sacrifice something. We don't know what it is, but I think it's going to be Oliver's death. So I don't know if this is actually going to come true or if it will be permanent, but all signs point to Oliver actually sacrificing himself, sacrificing his destiny in order to save the Flash and Supergirl, in order so they can stop Crisis on Infinite Earths from happening, because he believes he is not the one they need in order to stop the Anti-Monitor and the threat that is coming, and he believes that Barry and Kara are the perfect heroes and they are the best of us. So I would say it's a high possible chance that he has actually sacrificed himself. He will die in the future, and maybe this is a way to wrap up Arrow. I think it would be very, very satisfying, but I don't want Arrow to end, and also it's at the crossover, so you would hazard the guess, with Arrow most likely getting a season 8, they wouldn't just kill Oliver off halfway through the season. So I don't know, it remains to be seen, but it does seem like Oliver is actually going to die, or at least in this reality, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. But that's a teaser leading into Crisis on Infinite Earths next year. And so at the end of the episode, as we head later into the episode, we get to see Batwoman, and Batwoman returns and calls Oliver, and to paraphrase, she says, "I hear your doctor, he's made a friend." And so we cut to Arkham Asylum, and we see Dr. Destiny in one of the cells with his messed up comic book like face, and it pans over to the left and you get to see Psycho Pirate. So Psycho Pirate was featured a few episodes back, I think it was in the Arrow episode. He actually was fighting against our heroes just for a little bit in one of the breakout Arkham scenes, and that was sort of like a less satisfying way to introduce him, but this ending scene was just amazing. And so Psycho Pirate says, "The stage is set. Worlds will live. Worlds will die. The universe will never be the same." And so this teaser is exactly what we read in the 2049 article that was actually shown on The Flash earlier in the season, the exact same thing. And so he plays a massive part in the Crisis on Infinite Earths comic book storyline, because the Anti-Monitor recruits Psycho Pirate and he infuses him with part of his power to manipulate some of the heroes on some of the Earths. And this actually later fails when all 5 of the Earths that he's controlling actually enter the Limbo universe. And so another major character called Harbinger in this comic book storyline recruits heroes from all the remaining Earths to lead an assault on the Anti-Monitor, and also Psycho Pirate as well. So that's how he normally plays into Crisis on Infinite Earths, and it's just amazing to see that they're teasing him. Hopefully he gets this full-on comic book suit, because all we saw was his mask, and his suit is what makes him stand out. That's why many people actually missed him in the Arrow episode, because it was just a mask and it wasn't very obvious, but now it is obvious, and we've heard this exact speech before. And so he says the stage is set, so he knows about the Anti-Monitor coming. He knows all of this stuff due to his powers, or maybe the Anti-Monitor has recruited him already and he is setting the stage on Earth in order to bring the Anti-Monitor here. And so with Crisis on Infinite Earths actually coming to the Arrowverse next year, essentially what we should expect is there, number one, like I've mentioned, there's going to be a lot of deaths. Number two, realities are going to collide, so the multiverse will not be the same. There will probably only be a few Earths left. There's probably going to be some outlying ones that we don't find out about. But essentially, I do think Supergirl's Earth is going to merge with Earth 1 by the time of next year's crossover. And that's probably what they've been trying to do for ages. Everyone has been theorizing about that. and with Crisis on Infinite Earths in the comics, all the Earths begin to merge together and you get to see different parts sort of colliding, and some Earths are destroyed and some Earths are able to be saved with the help of all the heroes from the multiverse. So basically I would definitely expect Earth 38 to merge with Earth 1, maybe Earth 3, maybe Earth 2 as well, but it remains to be seen as to what other Earths will be destroyed and what will be saved. I'm guessing some of the ones will be destroyed that we already know, maybe like Earth 19 or something like that, and maybe their heroes have to move to our Earth or to move to another Earth that we know. So that is essentially what's going to be happening in the crossover. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If this did help you out and you sort of understand what's coming in the next crossover, let me know in the comments below. How excited are you guys? And I have to say myself, I'm just ridiculously excited because I loved the Elseworlds crossover. I thought it was so good. But also, this is my favorite DC comic book storyline. So look forward to this. Definitely read it before next year. And so I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.
Strong, it doesn't make us weak. Tongue-tied to service like shy preteens. I could only breathe.